I'm Beth, and these are my memories. To the complex and precious people who appear in them, thank you. I forgive you, and I'm sorry. You shaped me, and I carry you still. In remembering, I've come to see us all more clearly, not as villains or saints, but as humans doing the best we knew how. I must have forgotten. Until now. If today my voice sounds like I've been to a rave, it's because the week carved me up a little. But here we are, still talking about the moments of 10th grade. And not all of them were frivolous. In December of 10th grade, news tore through the school that 2 girls from my class had been hit by a car in the crosswalk out front. Rumors said that the driver was a student at another nearby high school. One of the girls eventually recovered, at least physically, but the other died that day. Her name was Aileen, and now, all these years later, there's almost nothing about her online. There's just a basic find a grave entry, as thin as the memory the internet keeps of kids who were gone before it existed. There was a school assembly to tell us what had happened, and counseling sessions were offered to help the student body process the shock. I had only known the girls from afar, but literally everyone knew them. They were both popular, both cheerleaders, wearing their uniforms when it happened the way cheerleaders always did on game days. They were the kind of girls whose names and faces were part of the school's daily wallpaper. And when something terrible happens to people like that, it makes everyone feel more mortal.
It's so awful. I just can't believe it.
The devastation rippled through the school, and everyone huddled together talking about it.
How could this be happening?
In the halls, between classes, at lunch.
This is just the worst thing I've ever heard of.
It was the only story anyone carried that
I
day.
just don't feel like this is real. How can this be real?
It left a crack in that year. A reminder that none of us were as invincible as our age made us feel. We carried the fracture from that fall with us all year, but we were still 15, still finding our way, and the year kept unfolding. Sophomore year, I decided to stretch my wings a little bit and joined the staff of the Normandy High School yearbook, the Bayou. Bayou was a nod to the famous tapestry in France,
Oui, la célèbre tapisserie de Bayeux en France.
hearkening back to the name of the school. Our school mascot, the Invaders, was a Norman knight in chainmail, riding a World War II tank. It included the dates 1066 and 1944. Thanks to that logo, I never forgot the dates of either Normandy invasion. The mascot logo was later updated to remove the tank. Please imagine my mortal eye roll. The yearbook staff consisted of 2 or 3 upperclassmen and 3 of us sophomores. Chris and Alex were in a few of my classes already. Alex had been one of the rebel girls in our cabin on the 9th grade trip to Mohican State Park. The one where we went canoeing in shorts at 40 degrees Fahrenheit and laughed until we couldn't breathe. She and I would eventually become co-editors in our senior year. But first we had to survive this year. Our advisor, Miss W., was an English teacher with a huge personality and even bigger hair. She was intimidating, beloved, and capable of delivering praise that felt like a benediction. When she smiled at you, you felt that in your soul. When she didn't, you also felt that in your soul. But brilliance doesn't always translate to immaculate design choices, and the big one in 1982 was unfortunate. The Bayou, and it was pronounced Bayou, not Bayou, was typically a beautiful hardbound volume. Glossy color pages, heavy leather cover, embossed lettering. Not that year. In 1982, the decision was made to break the yearbook into 2 separate paperback volumes. One would be in black and white, and they would both be distributed in canvas drawstring bags. No one, aside from the staff, knew this was coming.
Shh.
The staff upperclassmen handled the glamorous work. Fair enough. They managed the layout, organization, and sales. We sophomores were assigned the underclass photo section, the JV sports teams, and, most fatefully, assembling the bags.
Oh, yay.
The only time we could work on these bags was after school when the building was empty. We'd hole up in the yearbook room to pull the drawstrings through canvas with a small hooked tool called a bodkin. Our school had over 1,000 students plus faculty. We had a lot of bodkining to do. The yearbook room was in what was essentially the basement, separated from the hallway by a lockable cage. It was cold, dim, and as we eventually learned, full of crawling things. The school had been built in 1968, and you can tell that by the moon base-shaped floor plan. 3 distinct circles on the street side of the building comprise the auditorium, the library and front offices, and the gym as the little spoon cuddled against the cafeteria.
You're hogging the blanket.
The classrooms are contained in an enormous arc off the back side, which connects the cafeteria and the auditorium. There's a large courtyard off the cafeteria in the middle of the loops, with trees and a big air conditioning chiller. Once every few years, someone enacting a senior prank would manage to add bubbles to the water circulating in there, and foam would froth out into the grass. When the school was first opened, the courtyard had been a smoking area for upperclassmen.
Huh?
The long, curved basement hallway was underneath the classroom arc. You could never see the ends from where we were, and while the 2 upstairs academic levels were always bright and dynamic, the basement utility and storage corridor was oddly quiet, and the lights were always off. Little sounds would echo in from the darkness, and we never knew if it was a mouse or something worse. Sometimes we could smell the vestiges of whatever the cafeteria had served for lunch a few hours earlier, and assumed that's what our tiny cohabitants were probably after. We just kept pulling strings, willing our calloused fingers to get just a few more into the finished pile. Over several weeks, we completed all the bags. By then, word had leaked. The yearbook was soft cover.
Are you f***ing kidding me?
Seniors were furious. What pushed them over the edge was the printing delay. I can't remember if both volumes were late, but I remember the feeling. Seniors were reaching the end of their final year with no yearbooks to sign, no pages to pass around, no last day comments from friends that they might never see again. We couldn't have imagined it then, but some of them wouldn't live more than a few years after graduation. And they didn't get their senior yearbooks while school was still in session. I spent all those afternoons in the dark basement bodkining bags, while my weekends with Jack, also sometimes in the dark but with a different vibe, had grown into the warmest part of my life. The 1982 Normandy High School senior prom was approaching, and Tracy and I had both been invited. It was the end of sophomore year, and I had only been to one formal dance before this, the Christmas dance, also with Jack. That one had been notable only because we went in a group of 4 couples. All 3 of the other girls wore burgundy-colored dresses. I naturally wore peach, in keeping with Christmas tradition. We thought we were something else going to senior prom as underclassmen. Tracy and I walked through the bluster of a northern Ohio May to a little dress shop about a mile from my house to pick out what we would wear. It was a tiny store, smaller than my living room, and all of the dresses were hand-sewn by a lady with a strong Eastern European accent. A bell clanged when we came through the door, and racks were organized by size. You went to the rack for your size, and what was hanging there was what was available. If you loved the green dress, but it wasn't on your size rack, then you weren't getting the green dress.
No, miss. You cannot fit that dress.
You got a purple dress that fit you. My rack held a soft pink full-length dress with an empire waist and a matching ruffled bolero. There were other colors and styles on my rack, but this felt like the right one. Feminine, comfortable, and it cost me $40 from my babysitting stash. That doesn't sound like much, but it was a lot to me. $2 an hour to babysit the 3 kids down the street meant it took 20 of my life hours to buy that dress. The prom would be in early June in Cleveland, when it isn't exactly balmy. I was taking my chances with short sleeves. My hair at that time was chin length and ineptly feathered. Every morning I washed it in the shower and then attacked it with a brush and blow dryer. It took 45 minutes just to get it dry and moderately straight enough to leave the house. The options were few in 1982. My hair didn't feather back like the other girls. It had far too much curl. Also, I hated hairspray and refused to use it. So my hair just stood there, daring me to make it feather.
Bring it, little girl.
Tracy had stick-straight hair and she could feather hers, but she wasn't happy with that. She wanted more. I wanted less. I had no idea what to do with my hair for the dance. The problem was, no matter how decent it looked when I left the house, the instant the first molecule of humidity got within 100 yards of me, it would explode. And by explode, I mean little spikes would break formation and stand at their own kind of attention, jutting out at right angles from the rest. A hair mutiny I knew well from my previous season in marching band. I'd gotten up early, showered, blow-dried my hair into a tentative détente, and left the house feeling cautiously optimistic. By the time I walked to school in the morning fog and arrived at 7:15 for marching practice, my hair was already a disaster. Fluffy, frizzy, a giant block of angry keratin threads that refused to be tamed in a school bathroom mirror. I started every day with hair insecurity, sitting through every class hoping no one was looking at me, every morning until the end of football season. And prom was rolling ever closer by the day. I was worried. I'm sure I wouldn't shut up about it. Tracy, no doubt exhausted by my hair angst, finally suggested I enlist professional help. Not for my hair neurosis, surprisingly, but for the hair itself.
Just go to a salon.
She said.
Get it done.
This had never occurred to me. But maybe it could save me. So I made an appointment at a place someone recommended, someone who knew about this kind of self-care. I didn't love spending what was left of my babysitting money, but I was relieved not to worry about turning into a pink bolero-clad werewolf mid-prom. I didn't realize then that for many women, getting their hair done was a basic necessity. I never really did that. I don't even go to a salon now. I was low maintenance then, and I still am. But on prom day, skilled and brave hands wrangled my frizz into French braids, weaving baby's breath into the back of each one. It was a relief to put this battle into the hands of a fresh soldier. I wondered if the smell of chemicals ever gave the stylist a headache. When she turned me back to the mirror, I felt pretty good about how I looked. She asked if I was getting my face done, too. I wasn't. I really didn't wear much makeup. Never have. I never wanted someone to look at me and notice makeup.
Hey, are your eyelids naturally purple?
Only quiet enhancements felt right to me. Jack pulled the brown station wagon into the driveway and walked up to the door to collect me in his tuxedo with pink bow tie and cummerbund. He slid a wrist corsage of pink roses and baby's breath over my hand. I pinned a pink rose boutonniere onto his lapel. Fortunately, Tracy had told me I needed to buy this. I'd never heard of a boutonniere until before the Christmas dance back in December. Janice had to help me install it on his tuxedo jacket. We took photos at my house, in the living room, out on the deck, then drove to his so his mom could take some too. We met up with other couples for pre-prom dinner, and Jack did not run screaming into the night. Brave soul. My hair behaved like I had always dreamed it could. Prom was fun, but not the romantic fairy tale I'd imagined. Mostly it was sitting with our friends at large round tables covered with white tablecloths. Centerpieces were candles and the lights were romantically low. There was a balloon arch for photos and sparkling decorations scotch taped to every vertical surface. A DJ played the hits of 1982, Ebony and Ivory, 8675309, I Love Rock and Roll, Freeze Frame. But we only danced to slow songs. Neither of us could fast dance without looking like crazed jokers. That was fine. We each received a tiny keepsake brandy snifter as a memento. It read, Normandy High School, Senior Prom 1982, and the class song, which is now lost to time. It did not come with brandy. I kept that glass, along with one from my own senior prom in 1984, for over 34 years until I moved to Georgia and it disappeared. Another trinket, once meaningful, now lost or broken. Not long after prom and Jack's graduation, I came down with mono and strep, sick as a dog, and missed all of my friends' graduation parties. Life went on without me for over a month. Summer passed in a blur of my 16th birthday, marching band two-a-days with drums pounding the cadence in the August heat, and bittersweet goodbyes to the class of 1982. By fall, the new graduates began leaving for college, and our friend group silently unraveled. There were a few that I never saw again. Those of us still at Normandy saw some of them when they came back to visit, but it wasn't the same. The spell was broken. The magic dissipated like a sparkler burning out. The family that I had found, the one that had accepted and loved me, grew up and moved away. This time they left me behind instead of the other way around. But that feeling of inclusion, that warmth of knowing the way home, stayed with me. Because once you've learned that you matter and that you are loved, no one can take that away. Thank you for listening. These are my memories, and maybe they echo yours too. I must have forgotten, but I remember now. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing on your favorite podcast platform, like and comment on YouTube, or leave me a review. Sound design for this episode includes excerpts from MuseHub and Pixabay. These audio textures help carry the memory, shape the emotional arc, and are honored with gratitude here.